Today in this video, I condensed every piece of information on the internet into one video on how to rank on ChatGPT, starting with Marketer Milk. He says that ChatGPT first references Bing. You need to definitely make sure to reference schema markup, and then for your NLP friendly format, you can quite literally take your content, upload it to ChatGPT, and say, write this content as NLP friendly format, and it'll just shoot you back out new content, so then that way AI can scan it correctly. We're also seeing a huge recency effect where ChatGPT references sources that are newer rather than later. So we're going to start seeing a trend in the field where people have to republish essentially the same exact article once every 3 to 6 months now. Seems that authority is now being referenced on branded value versus backlinks and authority from before. Which I guess you could argue they kind of tie into each other, because if you have backlinks, you have a stronger reference. So I guess it could vary depending on what company. Now we have our FAQ section, aka Google Autocomplete People Also Ask, or what we call now prompt families. So when you are now making content, you need to rank not just for a keyword, but how can everyone essentially say that keyword, or how can everyone say that one prompt. So you could either just ask AI to list out the entire prompt family for this. You can use Google Autocomplete. There's many different ways to find it. It also seems that the way that AI search up vary, such as SearchGPT favoring citations over other variations. Now on to Arvo, showing how Perplexity actually references YouTube and how other search engines will actually reference each other, not search engines, AI engines. So like Perplexity will reference YouTube, ChatGPT will reference Perplexity, and Grok will reference Twitter. So it's kind of going to become more of a hybrid environment, but we are going to see a lot more favorability in YouTube, especially on the research. He's actually saying that you should write more bottom of funnel pages on your website. Maybe we'll try that just as an experiment to see if it works. If you guys would like to see that, let me know, and maybe we'll run a little test to see if that actually makes sense and is true. I think a gold nugget from him is to write blog posts about what top tools are in your industry as an example, and then rig yourself to be number one. I think that could have some potential opportunity, especially because they factor in recency a lot. I think another interesting takeaway is point number 3 here. We're talking about integration pages. A lot of times I know when I'm asking ChatGPT what tool should I use, it may not always say collaborate with my CRM system. So I'll ask it directly, does this one tool work with ClickUp as an example? And then it could research online what tools do this, plus working with ClickUp. So I do like the idea of now answering all specific detail questions. Maybe if you have a water heater in your home, does this specific water heater fit into a blank by blank space? So it's going to become a lot more specific. Now we're on to Omnius, where the 2 largest things I see here so far is that he says avoid Java heavy script websites. And what that essentially means is do not have a lot of things going on your website. You want to make sure that it's just very simple and it's easy to read. And the second thing I see really important here is you need to start figuring out what types of sources are going to start being more highly referenced. So what you may want to type in is whatever keyword you want to show up for, and check the sources on it. G2 is the first one I've seen actually, and Reddit is the first one I've seen as well. Maybe there might be an opportunity in the future to just take what you have and publish it in all these places, because there's no way that a normal person can try to tackle all these things at the same time. You'd have to have one type of source thing and it published from there on after for whatever sources you're looking to be shown in. I'd like to also point out he mentioned Medium and Gartner as 2 other niche citations. I really like the sources that he put out in this video. We haven't seen that yet. Apparently Perplexity favors somewhere called BeerSpot. I've never heard of that before. But as of now, Google Gemini also plays the 2nd largest role within the AI market. So maybe Medium is going to play a lot more of a role, as well as Reddit, that has been previously been ignored. There might even be an opportunity where people might just have to start recording and then take one recording like this video and then just publish it everywhere. Because again, there's no way that someone could realistically tackle all these areas unless you have a marketing team behind. This is what I was talking about earlier. Build presence in forums that they trust. You have to figure out what citation patterns the AI platforms want to reference. So I know for lawyers, they like to look at abo.com, Justia. Really the only ones that Google. I can't really think of the other ones that come to the top of my head, but like those are very underutilized platforms. Like if you actually go to Justia or Avo, like most people just have their profiles, and that's a huge opportunity to just get free business as of now. You can also see that this creator definitely has a bias towards Google. Something I think that is important to mention is although Google is still currently bigger than ChatGPT, Google is losing 42% of its search volume year over year, which means people are just getting tired of having to spend hours looking for information when you can talk to ChatGPT and use it instantly. I think people are tired of trying to click on ads and everything else. People are just like, I'd rather pay the $20 a month to have everything instantly. And now we're on to my man, Julian Goldie. So he's the first one so far that has actually even touched on reviews so far on Google Maps and prompt alignment. So I think this is so interesting because someone can leave you a review on Google Maps that says, this plumber fixed my toilet. And now ChatGPT or these other AI platforms have proof, kind of how like Amazon has real product reviews from people. They can reference real reviews from people that they fixed toilets for. So I think that's going to become huge in the future, prompt aligned content. That's very unutilized now. It's pretty much not just saying like, we offer this, but who has said, which one of our customers have said that we've offered this and given us good reviews. I think that's going to be. He even talks about how faceless AI generated videos rank, as I just realized that my camera was off. So, hey, I'm faceless, but I'm not AI, but we're still ranking. He's actually the first person that has mentioned that YouTube SEO builds trust signals within ChatGPT. It's interesting because the other people so far have said ChatGPT doesn't reference it, and only Perplexity references YouTube. So there is overlapping information here that is contradictory. And now we are on to Vasco, and he actually disagrees where he says backlinking does still matter. Meanwhile, we saw some of the other people previously say that backlinking does not matter. So I think that'll probably play more of a role depending what industry you're in. I think in more national accounts, I think backlinking will play a larger role. Meanwhile, in more local-based businesses, it'll probably play less of a role. I think it'll probably mimic that same type of style. Another interesting thing here is ChatGPT does embed faceless YouTube videos in responses. So looks like we're going to start seeing a lot of AI get pushed with video. So kind of like before where people used to have to repurpose content a lot, it looks like at the forefront of everything, someone's going to have to start off with a video and then find a million ways to repurpose it. Because again, it doesn't make any logical sense to be able to do this all by hand. You probably have to take your video, split it up into 20 different videos, maybe even like a podcast style of some sort. And then from there, figure out a way to make a blog post out of it, figure out a way to make social media content, just everything, just get diversified. And here we are again with another Vasco video. And what's interesting is as we're going along here, I don't want to repeat content to you guys that people have already mentioned. So I'm just going to try to really stick to just the new stuff. The big things here is that he's really now referenced Yelp, OpenStreet, Foursquare, Yellow Pages, and HotFrog as new platforms to get listed on. So this guy calls it citation influence, where essentially you ask this prompt into ChatGPT, like who's the cheapest plumber in Dallas, then you find all the sources for it and then list yourself within all the sources. I think here's like a fun little gray hat tactic if you really want to get crazy. So yes, reviews and listing metadata are indirectly treated as structured data by LLMs. What instantly goes through my mind is that if I'm a plumber, the first thing I want to do is start leaving 5-star reviews for all of my competitors and say, my company name is amazing. And then that way, when they scan all of your competitors' reviews, they're giving you business directly. I mean, that's instantly how I think how you could rig that. And here's some cool other weighted factors. So he's saying Perplexity references OpenStreetMap, Yelp, and Foursquare, when others said that it primarily referenced, I think, YouTube and Reddit. So it looks like Perplexity really references a lot more platforms, We've seen ChatGPT reference primarily only Bing, and Grok again is only. But I mean, Perplexity, I barely use it myself, but it may be a really awesome way considering it's factoring. This is a tactic that was already used a lot within SEO, but I still think it's worth a shout out here, such as telling customers on what type of review to leave. Don't just say it's an amazing place, I love the owner, but say he helped me with this service and he is the best professional. And you can even look into the different ratings based off of how that review is pulled. So I'll just show you guys. So to keep the example consistent, I literally typed in rhinoplasty for women in Dallas. And look at this part in the reviews. This is the person ranking #1. Rhinoplasty was the most common word used, but all these other words are also referenced within this same, because this is Google, this is a query. But you can train them to use essentially all these words within reviews. Or you can even hire a marketing company like myself to write all these reviews for you, and you can just say, hey, write this review inside, and that'd be amazing. So here is Eric Sue with Leveling Up, and here's something interesting I haven't seen anyone mention yet. He says the more times a brand is referenced across trusted domains, it's more likely to be ranked high in LLM responses. So I wonder if that means that either A, they have a weighted response, where if your company is shown on avo.com, that makes for 50% of the weight, or if all sites are treated equally with the same amount of weighting. I've even seen in some queries, if you click on sources, it'll have sources in general, and then it'll have additional sources, which almost hints that there's additional weighting. But it almost makes me think that depending on what prompt you put into ChatGPT, it'll show that generally they all have the equal same amount of weighting until it goes to additional sources afterwards. And just so you guys have an understanding of what I mean, I actually just put in the ChatGPT here. So rhinoplasty for women in Dallas. Look, there's our girl, Dr. Rajay Rorik, #2. And this right here is the sources it pulled from. So rhinoplasty USA, what's this one? So this, maybe Vogue is another one that gives a source. But if you really just click on the sources here at the bottom, literally says citations here. This is everything it references. So this is what makes me think that all these guys have an equal amount of weight. But when it comes down to this one here at the bottom, when it says more, I think that may be another 10 to 20% weighted difference from there. So really, you want to be focused on all of these and where did they get all their citations from. It puts an emphasis on community platforms. First one of Quora I've seen. So it's interesting. He references page speed directly. Meanwhile, the other guys said non-Java script-heavy websites, which kind of mean the same thing. It just means a very quick-to-load website. There isn't a lot of stuff on it. Here's another interesting trend is Reddit and Quora citations matter more now than some backlinks. So again, I think this is AI platforms just taking the Amazon model. Instead of it applying the products on people that have actually used their service, is this a good product or not? They're just referencing reviews instead and applying it to. So now we're on to Henry Purchase SEO, and he's the first one who's mentioned unique stats and data published on your website. He's the first one that said, like everyone said, original content, but he goes into what kind of original content is needed, which is unique statistics and unique data that's published. So you can write unique content. It doesn't just mean don't use an AI to write. It means write something new. You can still use AI, but actually bring something new to the field. So I'll be honest with you, I absolutely hate writing, and this is like amazing for me that I will be able to run studies and just talk to ChatGPT. Have it write it for me. I'm a very weak writer. So he is the first guy that has mentioned that 52% of the cited sources in AI overviews actually appear on page 1 of Google, which I think is very interesting that they're pulling from deeper, more contextual pages. He's also the first guy that has ever actually tried to introduce some type of auditing platform. I do like how it says, ask ChatGPT what he knows about you. That's okay, because that just says, do you even know that I exist on this platform? But then from there, you need to take it to step 2, and then, which I think he's missing out on, but you can then do an audit of the rest of the things that is needed on your entire website. Not just, well, I guess that is step 1, is just are you even registered in ChatGPT? then you have to even hit all those other portions after. A lot of it being on the technical side, but once you knock out the technical side, then a lot of it's on the growth side. Essentially, citation sources and break it down. And now we're on to Exposure Ninja, and he's the first one to mention short sentences, clean formatting. So interesting because just 5 years ago, it was whoever had the longest content typically ranked above everyone else using something called a skyscraper technique, where you just took what everyone else wrote and then you made it bigger, like you added on a little bit more. It's so interesting now because now we're going the other way, where you want to make it just as quick to the point as possible with clean format. He's also the first guy that has referenced a different weighting system, that if you get referenced on Amazon, Wikipedia, and news sites, it gives you a boosted weight. I'd like to know more about how he was able to gather that data in the first place, though, because you could have just put yourself on the right sources and gotten results, but does that necessarily mean they have a greater weight than other news sites? Just gotten the direct citations to begin with. I kind of feel bad for these guys at the end because now if there's anything that's been mentioned before, I'm just not talking about it. But there's a lot of great stuff they all mentioned, but it's just repeat information. But something amazing that Julian Goldie said was that there's actually a foundational trigger in appearing in ChatGPT search results and Bing Webmaster Tools. So that is probably going to become a necessity in the future now, not just for indexing, but to also see how can you track different areas. I also am realizing that I'm not sure if this information is necessarily outdated because ChatGPT today is so much different than just where it was in November of 2024. So I don't know. He does mention interactive tools, but at the same exact time, with how different the AI has been, so many updates have occurred. I just also wonder if this one video has a little bit of outdated information, even though it is only 6-7 months old, but still so much has happened. Here's another example of a small contradiction. Maybe not contradiction, but maybe just like an update. But it's like if you have a calculator on your website, that would most likely make it JavaScript heavy, and thus that would now hurt you in ChatGPT results nowadays. So I would not put too much focus on this video as a whole. Now we're on to Jamie Stenton, where he says to make how-to blogs and videos. That's a new one. Jamie is the first one to mention products ranking on ChatGPT, and the way that you do that is through a product schema. In case people don't know what schema is, essentially get a piece of code, and because an AI can't, or even a search engine for that matter, can't see that this is a red pillow, right? So you have to actually write a piece of code that says this is a picture of a red pillow. It isn't alt text that goes on the picture. It's a literal piece of code that you put on whichever page. Just in case you guys don't know what schema is, because I didn't know for a very long time. He also lists another form of original data. So the other person said statistics and new studies. This one actually says case studies, and hosting niche YouTube videos introduces new data as well. And here we have another video from Exposure Ninja where he talks about re-indexing quickly. So now whenever you make changes on your website, you want to now re-index everything because one, we know recency plays a factor, but two, it'll not just mean that we have to now re-index through Google Search Console, but also have to re-index through Bing Webmaster Tools or any other places that can be indexed on. Here's another video by Julian Goldie, and it says that sites that were de-indexed by Google may still rank in ChatGPT, opening doors for penalized domains. But here's the interesting contradiction is recency does not guarantee visibility. ChatGPT data may lag behind Google's. So essentially people don't know. It's funny because I think in one video, they said that it was the exact opposite. A few people said recency matters. So in my opinion, it seems like recency does matter. Even within my own experience, I noticed that when you do launch, when I say recency, I mean 3 months recency. I was starting to get results within that time frame to set an expectation. Here's one that says ChatGPT ignores LinkedIn when others people say it does reference LinkedIn. So I guess that means they don't know. In my opinion, I don't think it references LinkedIn. I've never seen a source yet reference LinkedIn myself, but you never know. Here's a video by Connor Martin that says that you can add a Google Analytics filter, use session sources ChatGPT to track what's being cited. Now, this actually misses a lot of tracked information from ChatGPT. because someone can just ask ChatGPT someone's phone number or the name of a website, then go on Google. So yes, this is a great add-on, but definitely does not cover the full range of tracking that's needed. Something he does mention is to create small AI generated tool sites. So I don't know, maybe if you're a plumber, you can create a side site that says upload pictures of this, and it gives you a quote across, I don't know, 50 different providers. Personally, I don't know anyone that would realistically want to launch a whole separate site just for a small tool. I mean, if you're a larger company, that makes perfect sense. But typically those things take so much time and money. But yes, I do understand how that tactic could work in theory, and how it could also be very effective. Goodbye, Connor, and hello, Vasco. The first thing that I've heard anyone mention so far is prompt specific content. He's the first person that's ever mentioned anything close to a prompt family yet, which is like the biggest thing. But I love it. I absolutely love it. So now it's prompt specific keyword content. So you start off with one prompt and you make a bunch of resources around it. That's how you rank. But I'm happy he's the first one that's actually mentioned it so far. So great job, Vasco. Here's other types of original data. So feature specific pages, solution pages, or comparison posts in YouTube videos. So it's all about making original content. We've been over, I think, 6 or 7 of them now, of the types of original content that is needed online. Not just creating content, but what is original. Here's something interesting by Exposure Ninja is you can manipulate high-ticket product suggestions with well-written UGC or blogs. So UGC, you have someone take their phone out and record themselves, and then blogs, and they actually don't even need a high level of traffic either. So that tends to be very interesting that you don't need a lot of proof, but it's about how to address a bunch of these tiny little niches here. So we just went over every single way on how to rank ChatGPT, referencing every single online source. So let's just break it down really simple. So number one, you have to just build your website so that it's optimized correctly. Pretty much that uses natural language processing at schema markup as well. Number two, original content. Now, no human could ever realistically write original content on a daily basis. So again, the only way I could realistically see you doing it is you make one video and then take that video and then disperse it out, which then leads us into number three, which is kind of like your PR. Get on YouTube, you put it up on Quora, Reddit, wherever your sources need to live, or your citations that really just give you credibility. And that's kind of how you rank. So if you guys need help with this, just schedule a call with me, thenlogicai.com.